In 2011, the Lane Council of Government's Senior and Disability Services Division developed a comprehensive analysis of living conditions for older adults in the country. They found that of 67,000 seniors in Lane County, 30% of them lived with a housing cost burden. That means more than 20,000, all 60 years and older, do not have enough savings to live off for 6 months, or that they live on less than $903 per month. This is below the national poverty level. For them, housing affordability is a major concern. The SNDS found that there is a large need for more affordable housing alternatives in Lane County for older adults. These people are independent, desiring a degree of freedom that allows them to take care of their own homes and utilities, and do not require help for everyday tasks. It is recommended by the SNDS that integrated planning processes are developed to coordinate with organizations within their community to meet the needs of seniors with financial difficulties. They also emphasize the need for health, safety, security, and a sense of well-being. It is estimated that 59% of older adults in Lane County live alone, and most fall within the 60 to 70-year-old age group. Many of these do not have someone to readily contact in case of an emergency, or feel even safe in their own homes or neighborhoods. The purpose of this project is to design a community specifically tailored for these older adults in this age group who live alone and struggle with the ability to live in a home of their own. The congregation of the Valley River Assembly of God Church in Eugene, Oregon recognizes the needs of those within their community and continuously look for ways to provide assistance in some way. They take part in local programs such as the Eugene Warming Center and the St. Vincent de Paul Homeless Family Placement Program. They would like to see their own property utilized even more. One of these ways is by providing the elderly with a residential setting at a relatively low cost. They would also like to see their property as a community gathering place, providing an open space for everyone in the area. And to reach out to even more people, the church would like to see a 24-hour daycare service set up as well, which would provide parents with a morning to shop or a night on the town. During busy times of the year, residents of the adult community would have the option of lending a hand as well, providing a wealth of experience taking care of children. The property of the church sits nestled between Eugene's Delta Highway and the Cal Young neighborhood. Currently, the property belongs to the Assembly of God, consists of 3 land parcels, making a total of 6.41 acres, all zoned residential industrial. The church itself building sits on the westernmost parcel, which is also the largest. The church leaders have been slowly working towards improving site conditions over the past several years. In 2006, they constructed a new main sanctuary to facilitate their growing congestion, and in 2008, they provided their parking lot and drainage. They have also taken steps to implement a community for older adults by working with a local architecture firm. As of right now, the future of the site is not set in stone, as the church continues to move towards an unclear goal geared specifically to providing light into a city full of need. The primary site for this project consists of a very flat, open grassy field. In the winter, it pools with water and becomes a haven for migrating birds. Along its northern border, a 45-degree slope drops down 2 to 4 feet to the sidewalk along Robin Hood Avenue. Also, the property consists of a place of worship, parking for more than 90 vehicles, and a volleyball court and baseball diamond that see little use even in the summer. Currently, primary access into the building is located on both the eastern and western sides, but also includes several smaller entries as well. It is possible for a vehicle to enter the field from the north through a break in the sidewalk along Robin Hood Avenue, as well as through an extension of the church property to the southeast. The surrounding area has seen a great deal of modification over the years. In the 19th century, the delta ponds were riparian forest, but were also rich with large abundance of gravel, which in the 60s were used to produce the Delta Highway alongside this area. It was not until the turn of the century that any vast improvements to the area were implemented. Local nonprofit groups invested their time and energy into removing from the area invasive plant species and improving walking conditions. It is now a major draw of visitors into the area and is almost directly across the highway from the church. Between the church and the North Delta Highway sits the Delta Ponds Bridge. This project was introduced to provide a safer alternative to the Good Pasture Road overpass 1/2 mile to the north. The Delta Ponds Bridge is reserved specifically for pedestrians and is centrally located within the Cal Young neighborhood, connecting to Robin Hood Avenue, and sits along the property easement of the Valley River Assembly of God. This is a major access point for pedestrians in and out of the Cal Young area. Naturally, the church is highly enthusiastic about its presence here, as it means an increased foot traffic nearby. Though the highway abutting the church to the west is about 15 feet lower in elevation than the parking lot of the church, the inclination of the highway creates a great deal of road noise into the church area, but does not cause a large problem for the rest of the property. What I mean to say is, there's a great deal of noise in this area of this property, but it does not carry on much past the church building itself. Homes making up the area to the north and to the east of the church land would like to consider in this design their needs, because changes to this property are likely to affect their lives as well. To the south of the church sits a large piece of property of mostly open field owned by Eugene Irrigation. Though the Eugene land is currently zoned industrial, the city would like to eventually rezone it residential. Barring a growth in the economy, it could be expected that Eugene would likely sell this land for development, which would in turn effectively surround the church with homes. The primary mission of this project is to establish a safe and energetic housing community where older adults could connect with residents in the surrounding neighborhood. Secondary and tertiary missions will focus on a central community area and church programming. Though the first two missions are in line with the churches, the third mission is different in that it incorporates more programming than the church's original request. With considerations of these three missions, of neighborhood, community hub, and church programming, added to the current land parcel segmentation of the church, and expected residential development to the south, brings about the division of the property into the following proposed site parcels. Each maintaining their own separate functions, transitions between them offer a mixed array of uses between adjacent sections. For example, though the neighborhood has its own purpose, this is it right here, as a home for older adults, it also borrows open space from the park for scenery and local activity. The park is, of course, a central gathering area for the surrounding community. And the church site remains a separate entity and yet borders the park as a subtle invitation for visitors to join the congregation. The church and the park sections are designed to lean towards public use, while the neighborhood is more private for those who live there. It is meant to be a relatively enclosed and separate community. It is also the primary focus of my design. My second goal is to foster within the entire community cohesion and belonging, connecting people with their neighbors and enriching affection for one another. Lastly, I wish to instill a sense of safety for all sites by creating spaces that are, to a large amount, visually exposed throughout the whole entire area. Those who live in the property are the primary benefactors of this design that I'm presenting today. It is for their own sake that this property takes its form, and they should feel as comfortable as possible with their surroundings. However, due to its relatively small size, the site will need to facilitate hide and reveal techniques as well to suggest the site is larger than it really is. The purpose of the Welcome Home project is to facilitate all these projects to create a possible scenario for what could be done with property belonging to the Valley River Assembly of God. Though it is primarily designed to be a comfortable environment for older adults, parts of that also extends out into the rest of the church and surrounding community through various means. To better facilitate activities for primarily the church, a number of new features have been incorporated into the design. These features include a play area, a children's center, a multi-purpose building, a basketball half-court, and raised topography with a concrete wall alongside the west end of the property. Parking has been altered as well to make better use of the space closer to the building. The idea for this area is to have plenty of space for the church members to gather after services, picnics, or weekly conferences. Added benches, flower gardens, and rain gardens enhance the feeling of place in this area as well. Fenced outdoor space provide activities for both the children's care service as well as for Sunday school. Facilities include a play structure, various level changes in topography, and a sand pit. The raised topography and cement wall help limit road noise from the adjacent freeway and work in conjunction with vegetation to help create a mental barrier from the freeway for those in the church property as well. Whereas the multi-purpose building is geared primarily for adult-age activities such as small group gatherings, office spaces, and even exercise machinery. Adjacent to this building sits the half-court, and several large corridors provide ample outdoor space for church gatherings. The park is a community use space for senior residents, the church, and other neighbors from the surrounding area. Its clearings provide various multi-use spaces and is ambiguous enough for future modification. Through use of hide and reveal, the space feels larger than it really is from within the site, but is revelatory for those on the streets. Water retention basins line its east side, marking the separation between it and the neighborhood area. 4 grassy swales, ultimately meeting with a water garden, make use of heavy rainfall. During these times, water collects and slowly releases into the water table. Pools also act as another barrier between the park and the community. These grassy swales provide permeability and microbic habitability necessary for water purification as it slowly drains. They are able to tolerate increased 25-year water delivery into the area as much as 4 inches per hour. In the event of a 100-year storm, however, the soil will become too saturated and will drain via the drainage ditch along the freeway into the delta ponds to the north. Water-loving plants such as reeds, tall grasses, and small trees surround the water gardens, and stone cut from local mountain slopes build the edge of the raised foundation of the neighborhood. Garden-like vegetation from the park flow alongside the paths into the neighborhood from the park area, essentially blurring the boundaries between park and neighborhood. Lining the ridge of the outcrops, tall columnar forms of Oregon white oaks serve as quiet sentinels to mark the limits of the park. Their presence would be cathedral-like as they bring the expanse of the sky down to the earth and at the same time protect the inhabitants below from the elements. 3 corridors provide access to the neighborhood from the park. Each act as a drainage channels from the neighborhood to the water gardens as well as provide access into the neighborhood for people. The primary entrance into the residential community is a grand patio that overlooks the park. A multi-use building called a common house sits adjacent to the patio and serves the residents and their families for many community functions, which include parties, dinners, games, meetings, encouraging people to mingle in any weather condition. It is essentially located to be a comfortable walking distance from any home on the site and lies on axis with the largest of several meeting places that are within the neighborhood. The neighborhood provides meeting areas for groups of all sizes, whether they vary from large meetings to private conversations. All are accommodated for in a variety of settings. Most are open to the sky, but some are covered as well. Some spaces provide more privacy than others and may include a point of interest such as a garden, fountain, or other form of artistic expression. The diamond shape of the neighborhood provides a solid surface circuit of paths around the interior of the community. Seating is provided every 50 feet, and soft grassy edges gently encourage movement in a linear progression as residents continue walking outdoors, enjoying the sunshine. Vegetation is used to separate and limit the view through the corridor to suggest the place to be larger than it actually is. This helps cluster homes together in small quadrants, making each of their own unique style and character. Through the use of these quadrants, neighbors will break away from the trap of feeling too monotonous. The neighborhood will feel that way. Throughout the site, there are many examples of gradients between areas, and the homes are of no exception. A tightly knit community, such as Welcome Home, requires privacy, just as it does a community. So the homes are designed to encounter on the outside, but have seclusion as one ventures further inside. There are 3 styles of homes on the premises, providing for a variety of lifestyles of different people. The larger units would be especially beneficial for those who get married. Medium-sized lots would be convenient for those who expect frequent visitors. And smaller plots would be reserved for those who do not necessarily need an extra amount of space. Residents are free to customize their yards any way they choose. This maximizes the sense of ownership for those who live there, as well as provide a variety of colors and texture. Front porches encourage socialization with those walking by, or just allow folks to sit down and enjoy the sun. Every home has either an eastern or western face, so that throughout the day, the sun provides an adequate amount of sunshine for the front yard gardens. The parking lot is shaded by London plane trees on the warmer parts of the afternoon and can grow high enough to shade even the neighborhoods next door. The parking lot area is along the periphery of the site, keeping the movement of the vehicles away from pedestrians, which increases safety and allows the neighborhood to be more cohesive in its space. Current City of Eugene stormwater design requirements state that all development generating more than 1,000 square feet of impervious area is required to mitigate water qualities of impacts of stormwater. So, as the parking lot in the eastern half of the Welcome Home neighborhood make up more than 1 acre, 1,400 square feet of water garden retention area is provided for drainage and purification, as well as separate the parking area from the sidewalk. The purpose of the Welcome Home Project is to provide community for older adults, 60 to 70 years old, who require the freedom it takes to take care of themselves and their own homes. By allowing residents the opportunities to get outside and meet their neighbors, community affection and solidarity can be encouraged. This is for those who otherwise live lonely and secluded lives. This project is not just designed for older adults, it is geared towards those of all ages that live within the Cal Young area. Through its use of child-oriented facilities, adult facilities, and park-like settings in the area immediate adjacent to older adult community, this church land would allow neighbors to mix and build a strong sense of community from now and well into the future.